Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'll tell you, I'm going crazy here trying to trying to see what is changed just since yesterday. Did you get a chance to try that ChatGPT, the 5.6 and advanced voice or GPT Live?
I wasn't able to do it, but I probably will within the week. I'll probably be able to do it because
Yeah,
that sounds really amazing. Like, what a leap.
it is. It's um I the only problem is here I can't get off it. It's so addictive that I'm using up my credits so quickly. It, it's just when you get into the voice thing, you'll understand. But ask it complicated things, and then when you go to work, when you go into ChatGPT work, uh, you have to watch. When you ask it to do something, ask it to create a PowerPoint presentation about anything, ask it to do the research and create a PowerPoint presentation. Because what it's doing now is you no longer tell it what to do. Basically, you tell it what you want as a result, and it will go in, it will figure out what it needs to do, and it will do it. And I'm sitting here watching yesterday or actually the day before it came out. And I'm watching it here as I ask it to strengthen a PowerPoint presentation that it had created for me earlier. And I'm watching it go through, and it's saying, "Okay, I got to review the thing. Oh, the text here is it's too tight with another. It's not looking so good. Okay, let me modify that." And you watch this go through and in such detail, hundreds of steps analyze everything about appearance, about the whether the image is good enough or not, and create new images. Not just go and find in a library, but create images that fit to the arguments. And so, uh, with
That's
that,
amazing.
when we think, oh, hi, Aaliyah, how are you
Hi,
doing?
Alia.
Hi, well, thanks. How are you, Jericha? How are you, Bill?
Good.
Great.
Right. We were just talking. I don't remember, Aaliyah, if I sent you yesterday the tip to go in and take a look at ChatGPT, the new 5.6 that came out the day before yesterday. I don't know if it's available in the UK, but
Oh,
um,
no, you didn't send it me, no.
oh, I'm sorry. I know I had meant to send that to you to take a look at that because it really does change everything. It's
Hi, good morning,
yeah.
Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Is Teresa in the States?
No, I think she's in.
Hello, hello. I'm in Uganda.
Ah,
Oh, hi,
yes.
Ah,
Teresa.
Hi.
okay.
Hello, everyone.
Good
How
Hi.
are you?
morning.
I'm okay.
Keeping
Good.
safe, I hope that what is it? The disease Ebola.
Ebola,
Hopefully it's not in your area.
no, no.
Good.
We are
Good.
safe. Actually safe.
Yeah,
Good
good.
morning, Ashok.
Good morning.
Perhaps
Morning.
Hi,
Ashok has
Ashok.
had an opportunity. Perhaps Ashok has had an opportunity to utilize it.
Yeah, Ashok, we're just talking here about the new ChatGPT 5.6 that came out on Thursday and the live GPT live what is it called? GPT Live Mini, I think, that came out at the same time, plus ChatGPT Work, that those three things are such a radical departure from what the average person has seen until now. Have you had a chance to try any of those?
No, but I had loaded Claude 4.6 and used it last week to give some guidance on um, what the response in Venezuela should be. And so people found it useful, and I found it only took about 10 minutes to do all the work that would have taken me probably 2 weeks. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, as I said, my son's experience on development, a contract that he had just paid a consulting company to do for over 6,000 man hours. Then until now, they'd been very skeptical about AI. And but he used Claude, and in 6 hours, it did what it took that contracting company 6,000 hours to do.
yeah. Megan, my middle daughter's a tech consultant down in Chicago for West Monroe Partners, and she ended up doing a presentation to the data science group in Chicago last November. And what she showcased with her partners is how they saved 10,000 person hours to get migration of a whole platform for a company in that time. So I think what you were talking about we have to figure out what we're going to do with all these jobs and functions that are um, not that actually it's getting
I
faster and more efficient
Mhm.
to do all those tasks. So
Yeah.
um,
And this
I'm excited as a physician. I'm really excited because that means my debugging skills as a specialist is going to be more and more attuned and refined. And I'll just need to know how to do the exception handling to help with the algorithmic bias or deep fakes as as I try to treat
Mhm.
patients and phenotype them or come up with a longitudinal plan. My brother thinks we will, if we do this well and use AI for good, we might increase the lifespan of a human being to 120 plus. And that means all the insurance actuarials will have to be rewritten.
Yeah.
And, who wants to do that?
Well, the thing about it is AI will do all the rewriting, so it won't take any time at all. But here's the key thing here is all that we have imagined and thought what was going to happen and how long it would take changed 2 days ago. 2 days ago. So what your daughter was doing to
Yep.
do that today is well, you're going to have to see. I'm just going to touch on some of the things today, but I'm going to be touching more on why or how that's going to impact the speed with which jobs are going to be lost in mass. And you're right. The question is here, especially in light of just this past week, there was the AI conference, the United Nations AI conference in Geneva,
Yeah,
4 day conference, biggest conference on AI, I think, so far at the UN.
right.
And they had a whole segment on jobs, but they're still thinking here that they're going to be able to upskill and reskill people for jobs. And yes, there will be opportunities for about 1% of the current workforce. The education is just going to become an increased competition for a smaller and smaller number of jobs, which eventually will be replaced as well, but in time. And so our problem is here it may never come. All this stuff may never happen. But the problem is if it does happen and it happens without us being prepared, we're going to be seeing here the number of people sleeping on streets just exploding, and the ability to do something about it with declining tax revenues and everything else is going to become catastrophic, and governments are not used to being able to work quickly. So we've got to be planning and coming up with contingencies for the what if case, because it's too catastrophic if it happens without any kind of preparation.
Yeah. If I can just take 2 minutes,
Mhm.
I'm
I just want to
preparing.
say hi to Ian. Ian,
Oh,
glad to
okay.
see you again. I haven't seen you for a while. You're muted.
Okay, how you doing?
Hi.
Um, yeah, I've one story I wanted to tell you is how I made an app with using AI, something I've been wanting to build in for years. So if we get a bit of time, I can go over that with you.
That would be great. That would be great. Remind me. Don't let me end without you telling us that story.
Okay.
Okay, great. Ashok, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I'm preparing to moderate a session on navigating AI frontiers on Thursday for the Digital Economist. And in preparation for that, the preamble that I changed had to do with the summary of the AI for Good Global Summit recommendation. So I'll just read that quickly to you. Um, it says, as a very convenient and timely preamble, the UN AI for Good Global Summit held in Geneva just.
Ashok,
Yes.
excuse me. Let me officially start the meeting, and then I'm
Oh,
going to hand it right back to you
okay.
because I just would like to have what you're saying there on the record.
Okay.
So, ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, the go-to place for those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world, the whole world, and daring enough to try. Today, we are going to be talking about some of the latest advances in AI and what that means for our society. Now, our club, as most of you know, we, like all Rotary clubs, seek to be of the greatest service to our community. What makes us a little different is that with members around the world, our community is the world, the whole world. And when it comes to service, we seek to help our community, the world, avoid severe and potentially existential consequences of major problems facing the world. And today, our topic shifted a little bit last week, or the week before last. Last week is 4th of July holiday here in the US. But the week before our last, which was our last meeting, we talked about the new opportunities of a mode of operandus for our club, what we can do to have influence in the world in being able to effectively address all the major problems because we don't know what major problem is the one that is most serious. So we've got to protect against all of them. But that's why we're crazy, right? The this week there were two major events that caused the focus on the topic this week being artificial intelligence and automation and the impact that's going to have on society. And the events were, first of all, the United Nations held a very, very major event on artificial intelligence in Geneva, a 4-day event, talking about how AI can be there for good. But I hope also talking about some of the risks and the governance needs and so forth. But the other thing here was the release of new capabilities, at least to most of us here in the general public. And in particular, we'll talk about the ChatGPT upgrade to 5.6, which most people say is so dramatic. It should have been ChatGPT 6 because it just changed the world and it changed the projections of how quickly we might see the so many things change in the world in everyday life, including the prospects for jobs. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about GPT Live, which is um, the ability to just talk uh, to ChatGPT and hold really intelligent conversations. It's We're going to try to do a live experiment here, demonstration, and you'll get to see what I'm talking about there. And the other thing is something called ChatGPT Work. They separated it between chat and work, where chat is just where you ask questions and you get answers. But ChatGPT work, you just tell it what you want, and it will go and figure out what it's going to take to give you what you want. And then it will go and start doing that. And you can watch it go through entire flows of work processes to achieve what you're asking for. And it's pretty amazing. As I say, it only came out Thursday. That's only 2 days. And but it is just mind-boggling. So hopefully we get a chance to look at a couple of demonstrations. Okay, to start off though, I want to hear from Ashok. He's going to be giving a presentation on a lot of what's happening with this with technology here in a couple of days. He's going to tell us a little bit about the nature of his presentation. Ashok, maybe you could start off with who is the sponsor of the event that you're going to be speaking at. Please, Ashok.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. You were cutting in and out during the recording,
Oh,
so maybe that communication, but we got the gist. Um, I will be moderating a panel session of distinguished colleagues for the Digital Economist. That's a group that was birthed in Davos by Navroop and Jose. And this has executive fellows, and I'm one of the executive fellows for the Healthcare Working Group. And it was our turn to convene a roundtable. So the topic for our convening on Thursday will be navigating AI frontiers. How do we explore adopting safe, responsible, and ethical AI in the context of digital systems and rapidly shifting incentives and lessons learned? And so, in preparation for that, I had scripted some topics, and I went to just yesterday morning. Went to have AI summarize the UN summit. And so here's a brief paragraph I'm going to do as a preamble. So the UN AI for Good Global Summit held in Geneva just last week highlighted a critical 85% global gap in AI policy, urging a shift to inclusive UN-led governance to address safety, ethical, and agentic AI risks. Key recommendations from the 53 UN partners that participated and the keynote experts focused on developing universal technical standards for multimedia authenticity and establishing mandatory explainable AI protocols to bridge the digital divide. Specific action plans focused on utilizing AI for SDGs, including scaling humanitarian data tools, which is SDG 2, advancing diagnostic AI, which is my interest with SDG 3, and developing green AI standards, SDG 13, as well as creating a new focus group, Bill, on agentic AI, which is SDG 16. And they had more written. I also had the privilege of listening to Rebecca Irby convene a forum on a new NGO for dignity. And they were addressing, really emphasizing the importance of us to maintain equity and inclusion for all sorts of groups that may be displaced or not included in the global solution set. So I think I would be curious to see what our colleagues identify as who aren't we involving or engaging when we come up with a proposed executable, scalable solution. And then whose responsibility is it, whether it's the UN or other private sectors, on filling the gaps or helping those rare, genetic, whatever the uh, um, vulnerability is. And I would also I had a chance to use Claude 4.6 to help me get an understanding on how to help the Venezuela situation. And Claude said, you don't need to send more people there. You need to figure out how to intelligently organize the information and then also remote support the assets so that people aren't wasting time or money. And I thought that was pretty wise coming from the bot. But yeah, thank you so much for the time to do that, Bill.
Okay, thank you, Ashok. Yes, I think here what took place in Geneva is really important, especially if we combine that with the thinking of what took place last November at the second World Summit for Social Development that took place in Doha, that had a side event talking about AI because the World Summit. Um, it was the second summit. It followed the first summit, which took place in 1995 in Copenhagen. And it called for things like the development that led to the Millennium Development Goals and now the Sustainable Development Goals. The key word was development. How do we close the gaps between developing countries and developed countries? It's with development. That was the thinking. And really the call for the Second World Summit was because of the realization that they had not delivered on the promises, if you would, of the First World Summit for those closing the development gaps and so forth, and reducing inequalities. But they picked up on the same idea that, hey, the solution here is we have to create and protect jobs. That really became the central message that came out of the event in Doha again. And it really didn't take much consideration to the way the world technology is changing the world. And the fact that the reports at the time was that for every dollar being spent to create and protect jobs, there were $34 being spent to eliminate jobs through automation and mechanization and so forth because of efficiencies. And so there was a side event, however, that did talk about the possibility that artificial intelligence or automation in general could displace large numbers of jobs and basically result in a large share of the human population becoming essentially unemployable, which is something we've never happened. For tens of thousands of years, the world has functioned on the idea of work. You do work to get food, you do work to build shelter, and you share with others. You help somebody else get food or build a shelter, and they help you do something or build a shelter, or you give them some food so that they help you build your shelter. So, but it was all always based on the idea of labor. And we are facing a situation now where labor, especially labor by humans, may lose a big chunk of its value, economic value, so that people will say, why should I pay some human to do this when I can get some machine to do it for a fraction of the cost and maybe do it better? So we've seen, and for the last 4 years or so, our club has seen the risk of AI. We've seen the promise. We're 100% behind. We hold a lot of meetings demonstrating what you can do with AI because we can do a lot. As Ashok pointed out, there's a big push to say, how do we leverage AI to support the achievement of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals? And there are huge opportunities in that regard, especially in the medical field. I'm just blown away almost week for week We're seeing major breakthroughs, whether it's in the discovery of medications, the research on that, or whether it's in the robotic side, in caregiving for or elder care, or even the in the mental area, uh, dealing with things like loneliness and other emotional issues. That this is just moving so fast. But at the same time, we're seeing the risk of what happens when people lose incomes, because it's like on the SDGs, one of the number one concerns with the SDGs is hunger, that we have so much hunger in the world. And there's so many conferences and talks about hunger, how we're going to increase the amount of food and so forth. But we're really not addressing the major issue that there's no shortage of food in the world. There's only a shortage of people who are able to pay the going rate for food in the world. If everybody had unlimited money, there would be absolutely no shortage of food anywhere, because somebody will step up and find a way to satisfy that need if the money's there. So if people lose access to income because of jobs disappearing, this would be a major catastrophe. And if it happens very quickly, it will be much, much worse. As some people have said, it could be existential to humanity. So we have increased the priority of dealing with or trying to influence the world to have at least a contingency plan for what to do should the worst case of unemployment and other problems, weaponization of AI, misuse by bad actors, all of these potential problems, should they happen and we're unprepared, that's unacceptable. So we're trying to influence the parties with the means to do something about it, to at least have a viable contingency plan, a contingency plan we can believe in, that could be employed should the worst case happen. So this week, as I said, we had the one group, the UN, talking about it, and we're not seeing the discussion going to, hey, we need to get that contingency plan into place. We're not seeing that. But on the other hand, the speed of development, we're seeing that is just exploding. So this Thursday, ChatGPT made an introduction to an entire sequence of new AI-based technologies that is changed the game, really, really changed the game. We're going to demonstrate some stuff today, hopefully live demonstrations. Of course, we all know what happens with live demonstrations sometimes, but we'll hope for the best. But the key thing here is that these events from just Thursday, that's just the day before yesterday, these events could dramatically shorten the window that we have to prepare for massive job losses. And we still have the problem because so many people are not aware of all the latest capabilities that have come out, that so many people are still saying, oh, what are you talking about? No, that's not going to happen. No, AI will never be able to do that. Or one reason or another, there'll be new jobs created. Humans will just migrate, will upskill and reskill them over to new jobs. Don't worry about it. There's going to be more jobs. Every time technology came along and eliminated jobs, it created more new jobs, and so forth. But what if that doesn't happen? What if we have the huge job losses and there is nothing to replace it? And we have to distinguish between what that means for a country like the United States or some European countries versus what does that mean for the Southern Hemisphere, for the global South, that may not have the means to jump in quickly with help for their populations should we see significant losses in income. And we might say, well, look, 80% of the population in some developing countries, they're not dependent on any technology. They still do everything by hand. But we did a little experiment looking at the country of Togo and saying, what happens if the job losses take place in countries like the United States and in European countries? What does that have for impact? And in looking at the export revenues in the developing countries, or a country like Togo that exports to Europe and the United States, and looking at the remittances of Togolese who are working in North America or Europe and sending money back to Togo, the estimates are the impact could be a loss of up to 40% of the GDP of Togo in just a year or two. And that would have disastrous effects, both with regards to health and education, especially. It would almost bring those two sectors to a stop and push them back to where they were decades ago. So at any rate, so that's the topic for today. We're going to talk about the new capabilities that came out, but we're also going to talk about the what that means for jobs, the shortness, and potentially some of you are among those who say, you're overblowing this. The likelihood that many jobs are going to be lost is minimal. Well, I have two answers to that. One answer is, let's say there's only a 20% chance or even less of that we're going to have catastrophic job loss within the next 10 to 20 years. But then I look at it and say, okay, let's say you're going to play a game of Russian roulette, and you're going to take you have a 6-shooter, and you're going to put just one bullet in it chamber, spin the chamber, and pull the trigger. First of all, are you willing to do that? But we have to make a change. Instead of pointing the gun at you and pulling the trigger, point it at your children and pull the trigger, because that's what you're really talking about. So are you willing to take that risk? Would you really be willing to take that risk with your children's future? So that's the first side of it. The second side of it here is we've got to look really objectively. We can't just go and take these generalities of, well, it's never been like that. It's always been this way, that new jobs came along and humans migrate to the new jobs. But we've got to realize what's different this time is we're not talking about technology replacing a function. We're talking about the technology replacing the function of a human, what a human can do. And so we need to take a look and ask ourselves, well, what jobs? Not specific, because we can say, well, we don't know what jobs it might come up with, but even trying to think of what kind of a job could it be that AI would not be able to do better than a human, or more efficiently to a human. And for those who say, well, don't worry about it, we're going to realize that if we automate all the jobs, there's nobody to buy anything. So the economy's going to crash. But the issue is here that right now it's not society saying, let's do this for society. It's companies. And companies are going and saying, hey, we have to survive. And we have to survive, and we have to thrive. And so we can't go and say, well, we're going to be the good guy. We're going to hire people just to have people have jobs, even if it doesn't make financial sense for our company. They can't do that. So this idea, this we, especially that I hear at the United Nations so often, where people talk about we need to do this and we need to do that. I always keep asking, Can somebody introduce me, please, to this mythical we? I don't know who that is. I've never met that we that's going to act in the interest of humanity and the world population. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about the capabilities, especially the new capabilities. We're going to talk about the impact this might have on jobs and the potential on jobs. And we're going to talk about measures that we think we need to get people talking about so that we don't get blindly into a situation that might be very difficult to get out of and may potentially have very, very bad results. At any rate, just like to also say hi, Ingrid. Glad to see you again. Uh, haven't seen you for the last few weeks. And we also have Nizar and Samuel. I don't think I've seen you guys in the past. Do you three just want to introduce yourself briefly to the rest of the group here? Ingrid, maybe starting with you, ladies first. She may have stepped away from. You're muted, Ingrid. Okay. She might not be hearing us right now. Samuel, could you introduce yourself briefly? Whoop. Is anyone hearing me? Okay. So, Nizar, please unmute yourself and just introduce yourself briefly, please. Okay. So those are our new folks here. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they're having some problems with the connectivity. At any
Yeah.
rate,
Hey, Bill, can I just add three resources that relevant to how you framed it?
yes,
And
please.
then before I forget, Ian, I think wanted to also
Yes,
add his app. Um, the first is you introduced me to a fellow named Amos
yes,
Obi from
yes,
Nigeria.
yes.
He was invited to be part of the panel discussion on AI at the UN Geneva Forum, and that we might be able to pull his stuff since he's a Rotarian and bring it in, showcase it as part of what how we're contributing as a larger Rotary organization.
Mhm.
The second is just to reinforce Rebecca Irby, is designated as the lead for that co-NGO, the new one for dignity, and her emphasis on narrowing the SDG implementation gap so that we don't miss populations. I think it would be important as we go forward to have invite Rebecca, and she's spoken to Rotary clubs as well. But I would be happy to introduce you and invite her at some point in the future.
Mhm.
The third is
Before you go on, just so I don't lose that, Rebecca is the lead also on. I've mentioned here that I'm talking to some people at co-NGO. I'm the vice chair of the committee, NGO Committee for Education, Learning, Literacy at Congo. So she's the lead on. They're looking at potentially splitting the role with regards to education and having the education that's for the NGO committees on how to improve their efficiency in working together with the UN. So she's the lead on that. And so there's a number of people that are right now trying to pull us together to talk about that particular function.
oh,
So go
good.
ahead.
Yep. And then the World Information Transfer Group is a group that's really motivated to ensure we have the tools and skills the next generation does as well to um, critically appraise and respond to misinformation, disinformation, and cyberbullying. And I think that that group might be one that we would also be wise to see how we can come up with best practices or caveats. And one of the reports that they just published that would be of value to us is called the World Ecology Report, and I'll send you a copy of that. But the head topic was on AIs and its impact on the human mind, and that we have to take caution with not just the overwhelm or the anxiety that it might produce, but really as we get to neuroscience and integration, the best ways to not get to cognitive overload and energetic problems. And then the last one was UNESCO came up with a document that I'm curious as you go forward that proposed countries that are having troubles with meeting the education gaps, that we give them an exchange. There's debt for education. And I think that's a terrific idea. You had initially told me that that might be something to think about. How do we have universal basic expense covered so that people can then afford to learn and do advanced academic development? But the idea of UNESCO's report on debt and education at the country level would be good as we go forward. And maybe AI can help us with what that ratio should be as people align or incentives and capabilities.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Just a thought on the education side of it. One of the things we see when we look at the SDGs, we have to remember the SDGs were the continuation of the Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs, which were defined in 2000, the SDGs in 2015. But that was done at a time when a lot of things that we know today were not known. And as a result, we some of the targets within the SDGs are calling for things that today could be considered obsolete. And so one of the things that I've been looking at with regards to improving the effectiveness of committees, both within the UN civil society area or within Rotary organizations like Rotary, is the idea of creating problem-based or target-based knowledge bases based around the SDG targets, so that we can go and try to pull committees together that are dedicated to solving or achieving a particular SDG target for all people in all parts of the world. So that the biggest problem that we've seen, why we're not achieving the SDGs, is because nobody is responsible for the global attainment of the SDGs. And where there's nobody responsible, where we shouldn't be surprised when we're not getting the results. So our thoughts on how we can best help advance the achievements of the SDGs is to try to go and create bodies that will see themselves as being responsible for the achievement of a particular goal, that could become the go-to place for all the people who are particularly interested in solving that particular problem. That gives us the capability to pull all the knowledge together related to that problem and increase the efficiency and effectiveness of finding answers, but also increasing the ability to support all of the peripheral nodes that are needed to actually achieve them, to do the work on the ground. So the idea is create bodies whose purpose it is to maximize the success of all the locations on the ground and achieving or addressing a particular problem. Jerica, yes, please.
Would that also fall in line with what we're experiencing as far as gaps in implementation?
Exactly, because if somebody is now responsible for the achievement of the goal worldwide, that means they're also responsible for identifying all those gaps and coming up with solutions on how to overcome those gaps, providing the assistance that might be needed, providing the expertise that might be needed, providing the motivation that might be needed. It doesn't make any difference what the problem that has to be overcome is, what the obstacle is, but then we've got a body who's saying, "Hey, that's our mission, so we will have to address that." But right now, there's not even a place for such a body that would take on that mission. So we have a totally fragmented world that you just have to sort of hope somebody is going to do something about it. With regards to the education, the reason I want to make that bring that one up particularly is that over the centuries, I guess we could even say, the idea of education and teaching has become conflated, so that very often we see in the targets for education improving teaching. But where does the assumption come that education requires teaching? Does it require teaching? If we look here at the 3 years ago or 4 years ago, where we had the World Summit for Education at the United Nations during the General Assembly week, they pointed out that the new most superior goal of education was preparing everybody to be a successful lifelong learner. To be a successful lifelong learner, you first have to be a successful independent learner. Independent learning means that you have the skills and the confidence that you can learn anything at any time, basically on your own. In other words, you're not dependent on somebody coming and telling you, you need to learn this or you need to learn it this way. So teaching, in a way, becomes counterproductive because people learn, well, let me wait till somebody tells me how to do that or how that works, instead of learning to take the initiative. So if we look and see some of the most successful experiments being done in education today, it's being done without the idea of human teachers, at least not human teachers for the content material. The human teacher is there to perhaps help you learn how to learn, but not how to learn algebra or chemistry or whatever. So we've got to look at the SDGs and make sure that the SDG is the end result we're looking for, and it's not an interim step that may no longer be applicable. So, and that's troublesome because humans don't like change. And so when we start talking about, hey, what's going to achieve the result, if the method to achieve the result is different from the methods that are being used today, we see a lot of humans have a lot of problem with that. So that has even led to situations like the Alpha School, which is arguably one of the best new school systems in the United States, perhaps the world. In a very short time, they are now in the top 1% of all schools in the United States in almost every single subject at every single grade level. Yet we have states that have blocked that model from being used because they say, well, that model does not include the method of teaching that we have adopted in our state, so that they seem to be more interested in the teaching than in the learning. So we have to figure out how to overcome that. That gets into a broader issue that when we look at Rotary, for example, one of the arguments in Rotary, I've been the world conventions that I've attended recently. I typically go around asking people, Hey, what have we achieved? What is Rotary? Can we point to any particular problem area in the world that's closer to complete resolution as a result of the millions of projects that Rotary has undertaken in recent years? And it's interesting to watch the wheels turning here as they're sitting and trying to think of what are we done? And the only one that anybody ever mentions is polio. And polio never represented anything more than a fraction of 1% of major problems. And when we take a look at Rotary's website and else, one of the things that we notice is it doesn't talk a lot about achievements. It talks mostly about, well, it talks about achievements, but the achievements are how many volunteer hours did we devote? Or how many dollars did we raise in fundraising efforts? But those aren't the results. Those are inputs. If we're doing the wrong things, we could be inputting all day long and we don't have anything to show for it. So when people go and I go to conferences where people, leaders of Rotary clubs stand up and say, hey, we collected so many tons of clothing for the homeless this year. And I'll typically ask, oh, that's really great. But by how much have you reduced homelessness in your community? And they look and say, what? No, 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 no. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give the homeless some clothing. Or maybe it's foodstuffs, and we collected so much for the food pantry. Again, how much have you reduced hunger in your community during this period? Or when they talk about tutoring, how many tutoring hours that they are devoting? My question is, but how much have you
Bill,
reduced
just to
the
get
percentage of
a little
children that
drink on
are that are not at grade level in your community? So anyway, that's that. So before we get into here, we're going to be talking about we're going to look into how much these changes of the last couple of days are making to how quickly we are likely to be in a situation where it has dramatic, widespread change in our society and having a widespread change in employment and widespread change in education. But before doing that, just as an example of how some of the capabilities are, we'd like to hear from Ian. Ian has gone and developed an app recently, and we'd like to hear his experience of going through that app development process. So, Ian, please.
Okay, just to talk about what you were on there a minute ago. There's a guy called Iman Mustak, and he's done huge stuff in AI. He's looked at the idea of universal basic income, and he reckons we would never have the money to do that. So what we should do instead is give every child their own AI, an AI that's, sort of locked to them and serves them. That's their only thing. That's their job. The problem that we have at the moment is that since, the 1600s or whatever it was, when the first company was formed, the East India Company, what it's been done, it's functionally an AI. Now, it was a very slow AI, obviously, and the way it worked was because of the people who were employed by it. But every company is essentially an AI. And now if we give AIs to these AIs, it makes them even more powerful. And what we need is something for humanity to fight back, or something to fight back for humanity. That's the essence of what we need to do in this space, because otherwise it's just going to be a steamroller.
Ian, before you go into your experience with the app you developed, just a couple of thoughts on that. The first is that if everybody had their own AI, because Amos Obi that Ashok talked about just a little while ago, he runs a school in Nigeria to teach AI. His
Right.
thoughts are if everyone is competent in AI, that's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
What I've been discovering here, or the results of the research that I've been doing with AI, is that the overwhelming majority of people um, will use AI, but it will not, it will do things for their peace of mind and so forth, but it's not going to do much for their incomes or anything related to that. Because the driving force is um, economies of scale and specialization. Those are the things that have resulted in the in even AI itself is standardization of for automation. And so we can see here it's a good idea. We provide everybody, but that's probably not going to make the difference. And the universal basic income, the problem with it is that yes, we probably can afford it, but
Hmm.
here's the problem. It means that the top 1% or 1/10 of 1% who are likely to end up owning everything, that everybody else on the world will exist at their pleasure. And if they decide here that that that's a useless class to them, those people don't bring any benefit to them. And potentially, if they look like they're getting angry at the fact that you've got this extreme wealthy group and everybody else is living at the minimum, that they may become afraid of them and decide to take a preemptive action and eliminate the 99% of the world population.
Well, they
Just
only have to tip inflation, and then the universal basic income's worth nothing.
Oh yeah, well, but the thing about it is it's still coming dependent on that top 1/10 of a percent.
Hmm.
They the ones that will decide everything, and everybody else is just basically almost like a zoo animal, is just living at their pleasure.
Right.
The thinking the during the Second World Summit, that side event concluded that a universal basic income would lead to techno-feudalism, I think was the
Right.
term they called. And they called instead for sovereign funds to fund a universal basic income, not through taxes, but by having the world share the ownership of all the resources and all the production means, and that everybody, the dividends coming out of the production is what gets shared, if you would. So if we take the value of everything that's produced and everything that has rents on it, and that gets divided up. So the sum of all the funds needed to acquire everything that's produced and everything match out. They equal out. So the thinking is more that there has to be some kind of ownership, sharing of ownership, and working through dividends. Anyway, but that is part of
My
what we.
idea there was, that the AI would be more of a watchdog for this individual, that this is
Oh
its
no, if the AI,
individual.
yes, the AI, I think here we definitely are moving to a world, and that's part
Yeah.
of what I'm going to go into in a little while here when we look at the upgrades from 2 days ago. That's
Mm.
moving us closer to what they call a universal basic interface, or a universal interface where you just have one interface that you just talk to, and sees everything you see, hears everything you see, and it does everything. You don't need to pick up a phone. You don't need to go to a computer. You don't need to
Right.
go from one app to another app. You just say, "Hey, this is what I want. Go get it for me," and it will get it for you, whether it's an answer, whether it's an object, or whatever it is. Between that and the robotics, which is advancing much faster than anybody ever imagined, that this is. Um, um, this is where that seems to be going. So, but at any rate, that whole discussion of, hey, what's the contingency plan? What are we going to do if we start to see massive job losses? A 20% job loss on a permanent basis would be catastrophic, especially if it's coming out of the upper middle class, which is likely it's the university graduates, it's the people that have higher
Mm.
incomes that are likely to lose the jobs the quickest here coming up. And it takes very little for that to hit because we're a debt society, to hit the financial institutions when people start defaulting, and the financial system, the real estate systems all start to collapse. So we're going to talk about that in a little while. But in the meantime, I'd like to hear on your app, because
Okay.
my son had been a skeptic, an AI skeptic, because I've been talking about this for years, and he kept poo-pooing me. He's an IT executive for corporate systems at a major European corporation, major global corporation, with development staff, and he's got a big development staff in India, in Malaysia, in Europe, and in North America. And he was telling me about a project that they had just spent 32 man months of a contractor developing this application. And they went to Claude, and they were able to basically get that entire application built almost to the identical specifications in about 6 hours. And so they're now questioning the development staff, whether they can maintain that development staff in these other countries, whether they need them anymore. So please, Ian, give us your experience there.
Okay, so what I've got on the screen hopefully is my large screen, and this is the app. During my time looking after my kids, one of the things was to try and show them the structure of words. So if you look at something simple like house, you'll notice that the way it's pronounced is it's house. So you've got the H at the start, the ow in the middle, and the S at the end. But that's not the way it's spelt. So I wanted to build something that would demonstrate how it actually works. So it's color-coded here to show you that, okay, these three letters more or less define this sound. The H is the H, the S is the S. And I've done this for over 20,000 words now over the last 2 weeks or so. The database side of it was the kind of the hardest thing to do, because you had to make the AI understand how it works. And I don't think the AI completely understands how it works yet, but I've done a lot of grunt work myself. Now, part of that was also to look at, okay, we know there's a thing that's been around for years called memory systems. And what they do is, say you want to learn a long number, you can translate it into words. So yeah, somebody just give me a number, any number.
Somebody want to do that? I'll give you on 4.
Okay, 4. Well, 4, it's just a single digit number.
Okay,
Here's
425.
425.
Yeah, it can be 81.
Okay, so 425, 81. Let's see how much it can do. It can't go that far, but we can make it up of different numbers. So for instance, 424, runner, okay? 81, pick a word out of there. Fat. So the runner is fat. So you can see that let me just go through what the words actually mean. So we have another section here called the Learn section. This is called the major system. So the way it works is that a 0, think of a C for a 0. So the sound S. So S. Let me see. S, Z, and S. Okay, any of those sounds will give you that number. 1 is the T, D, and THs. N has 2 legs. M has 3 legs, and so on. These become easy to remember after a while, but it's extremely difficult to go from numbers to words. So this is a database that takes you the other way. Now, for instance, if you're a foreign learner, you speak in a foreign language, and you have difficulty spelling, you can actually trace what you've heard through here. So this is a feature that you can switch on and off, because it's only for people who are able to do this stuff. For instance, if it has a J sound in it, you can press this button, and it might have, let's see, there's an ing sound in it. And then it will ask you, okay, are they in that order, or are they split up, or whatever? And you can say it contains both those sounds, and then it'll give you a list of all the words that contain both those sounds. And you can do it for more than that. And while you're doing this, you're learning the protocol that's used to define things. So, for instance, if I want to there's something that also has a TH sound in it. I don't know if you'll find something like that. No, if there's nothing that has a J sound, a TH sound, and an ing sound in it at the same time, which is hardly surprising, I suppose. But there is ones that contain TH and ing endings at the same time. Now, what you can also do is look at it more directly. If you put this little sign in and put ing, sorry, it'll give you anything that sort of, wow. Oh, that's things that start with ing. And you can, which is kind of cool. Inglewood, Ingram. You even know there were words in there that did that. Or things that end with ing. And then the learn section just takes you through particular words, and you can do some pretty cool stuff. Like, for instance, fish. You have an extra feature here where it has what I call the pizzazz button. Fish. So let me give you a better view of that.
Ian, if you had contact at all with Sunita Gandhi in India?
No.
Okay, I'm going to put you in touch with her afterwards. She has a phonetics team building program where they're able to teach reading in about 45 days.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've been saying, because right now what they do is they pair the kids up and the kids teach each other.
Right.
The teacher sort of guiding, they have a guidance book that guides them in how to do that. But not everybody is always in a place where they've got a partner to be able to work with like that. And I think what you're doing here could be something that, maybe with some tweaking, we could find a way to be able to create an AI partner that would be available to anybody who's got access to a smartphone that currently does not have a partner to practice learning to read.
Okay.
So I'll connect you up with her after.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so what do you guys think?
This is interesting, but you did this, you had AI help you to develop this, right?
Yes. I was doing mostly Uber and Lyft stuff for a while, but I crashed my car, and I thought, well, now that I have the time and I know something about AI, I'll just jump in and find out as much as I can about this and just try and do it, see what happens. And this is what happened.
So what was your experience in doing this with AI relative to how long it might have taken you if you did not have AI
This is something
assistance?
I had on the back burner for years, and I've been fiddling around with the database for a long time and wondering, about selecting which systems I'd use to do this. I did a course in uh, you know, programming stuff, programming back ends, front ends, all the rest of it, and it never got anywhere. So, this is something that would have taken years of work, and I've done it in about 2 weeks.
Yeah. That matches what my son's telling me in his experiences. And it's interesting because there were studies that came out from MIT earlier in the year saying that that how most companies that have tried to deploy AI in practice have been disappointed. And just like everything, I think this stuff is evolving very fast. So something that might have not been possible to do a couple of months ago, all of a sudden is there. Uh, Jerica, do
I
you want
just
to?
did this with ChatGPT. I mean, Claude would have been possibly better, but I think what I could have done was if I got a dedicated PC and install a whole, committee of AIs to do the individual parts, this would have been a snap.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. But let's hear from Jerica first.
Hi, just before we move on too far, just wanted to get some comments from the floor. I see, oh, hi, Alice. Good to see you again. Um, Shayla joined us as well as Augustine, and Teresa is back. If anybody would like to make some comments before we move on too far.
Okay, maybe there'll be some more comments when we talk a little bit about what was introduced this last Thursday and how this might impact what Ian just was showing us and what he did. But also that will start some of you thinking about what it might mean for you. First of all, before I start, has anybody, Ian, maybe you can stop sharing your screen. We can.
Oh, yeah, sure. Uh,
And um, and I'd just like to see, has anybody actually done any work with ChatGPT 5.6 or with the ChatGPT or GPT Live that they call Live Mini One? Has anybody used that? It only came out on Thursday, unless you were one of 20 privileged people around the world. So, has anybody done anything with that? Okay, so this could be very interesting for you then. So let me go and I'm going to share my screen. Uh, mm, okay, so this is the ChatGPT, the new version, and we can see. Let me move this out of the way. This shows down here. Does everybody see my screen?
yeah.
Okay, so this is the new ChatGPT screen. I'm in the web version right now. I don't know for sure if everything, but we can see I'm in ChatGPT 5.6 Soul. Soul is the highest version of the new ChatGPT. And with regards to the intelligence level that I'm working on, I'm in the high level working. And so one of the new things here is the voice version. And I'm not sure if I have to be in the app rather than the web version to use this. So I'll switch over if this doesn't give me the new version on the voice. So let me just try this. Whoop. ChatGPT, are you there? Okay, I'm going to try this in my phone. Hopefully you'll hear this.
Yep, I hear you just fine. Good.
Okay, are you hearing me through my phone or through the web app?
I can hear you perfectly. Let me check that. I can hear you clearly, but I can't directly tell whether it's your phone mic or your computer mic.
Okay, I
Can
just
you
turned off.
tell me what you're
I just
using?
turned off my phone mic, so we're now talking on the computer.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for letting me know.
Okay,
Sounds steady on my
so
end.
what I'd like to ask here is ChatGPT 5.6 just came out on Thursday, and with the new work
Right.
mode. The new work mode, can you just explain to us what is the big deal about the work mode versus the chat mode?
One second. Checking. Uh, Okay. The big conceptual shift is that ChatGPT stops being just a chat and becomes a work agent. In chat mode, you ask, it responds. But in work mode, you assign a goal, like make me a 20-slide deck with current research and speaker notes. And it plans, fetches data, uses your files, assembles the PowerPoint, and even requests approval from you. It also runs across time. You don't have to sit in the chat. It can schedule recurring tasks. It can monitor updates and generate docs, sheets, or reports using your Drive, Slack, CRM, and 100 other connectors. It feels more like onboarding a super capable assistant than chatting with a bot. For the work you ask me to do, like UN presentations, education reform proposals, AI research, that's huge. You can just hand off the whole project, not just talk through it. That release is a line in the sand moment, shifting from AI as answer machine to AI as labor. Today, it's supervised, but it's clearly heading toward taking on larger and larger chunks of knowledge work.
So are you basically saying I could give it a task to go out, do research on the state of education in some state and to analyze what the education gaps are, the outcome gaps, and come up with a presentation that would present to education authorities the findings of the research analysis on the state of education in their jurisdiction?
Let me check that for you. Yes, that's the kind of end-to-end task work is meant to handle. For your education work, you could ask it to analyze state data, compare top versus bottom performing districts, pull in recent research, generate charts, and produce a polished slide deck and report with citations. And it'll pause for your sign off if needed. It changes the rhythm from back and forth drafting to set the objective, review the plan, approve the deliverables. That's a real shift.
So, in other words, I'm not so much telling the AI what to do step by step. I just tell it what result I want, and the AI will figure out what steps it needs, what resources it needs, go get those, and come back and give me the result.
Let me check. Right, that's basically it. Instead of micromanaging each step, you set the outcome and the constraints, like scope, audience, and format. And the system figures out the steps, gathers the inputs, runs the analysis, and assembles the deliverable. That doesn't mean no oversight, but your role shifts more to setting direction and final approval. That's a pretty profound evolution from chat tool to delegated work.
How close does this bring us to the idea of a universal user interface to all devices and apps, where a user will just be talking on a, or it could be writing, but talking mostly to the AI about everything all day long, and whether their question is related to navigation, or related to their work, or related to producing something, or related to what's going on around them right now. Basically, everything is just handled through that one hands-free app. How is this moving us closer to that?
Checking. Yeah, it takes us a big step closer, but it's not all the way there. What just happened is the AI is starting to become the operating layer, not just the chat box. 5 years ago, it was you to chat bot to answer. Now it's you to AI to your digital world. The next step, which is clearly in sight, is you just talk or gesture through whatever device is around, and the AI decides which service or app to invoke on your behalf. The interface becomes the conversation. So the friction between tasks, apps, and devices starts to disappear. That doesn't mean it's fully universal yet. Permission, security, and app ecosystems are still gating factors, but architecturally, that's the direction. Apps fade into the background, and you just express intent. Work is a meaningful step in exactly that direction.
How big a deal once we have that universal interface for everything you want, whether it's work or personal, how big an impact will that have in reducing the amount of human work needed to do pretty much anything?
Checking. That kind of interface would massively accelerate displacement because once the interface itself disappears and AI becomes the coordinator, a lot of what people do now, clicking through systems, shuffling data between tools, even knowing which tool to use, just goes away. That doesn't automatically erase most jobs. The adoption takes time, and real world roles include trust, regulation, and human relationships. That said, the significance is that once the AI becomes the main interface, every improvement compounds across thousands of tasks. You're no longer learning new software. You're benefiting from a smarter AI, which changes the slope of the curve.
Okay. Just 1 minute, ChatGPT. I want to see if others on this call have any questions for you.
Sounds good. Take your time.
Okay. Does somebody else want to try to ask a question here, please?
Hi, my name is
Go ahead,
my name
Ian.
is Paige. My question is that is there any feedback in sort of the research that you when in a way where it can avoid biases along with certain
Okay. Yes, Paige, you're breaking up on this, but if I understood you correctly, what you're asking is, are we
is
getting feedback?
incorrect by the person that's asking of the chat GPT?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, you're asking here, but what about things like biases and what we typically categorize as hallucinations? And so, ChatGPT, back to you. What can you tell us about the efforts in ChatGPT 5.6, for example? What is it doing to reduce the likelihood of hallucinations and biases?
Checking on that for you. That's a great question. And it's one of the big frontiers in current AI work. The short version is newer models are getting better at self-checking, using sources, and calibrating uncertainty, but they still make mistakes. So for high stakes stuff, it's still best to verify. The good news is the models are getting better, not just at answering, but at knowing when they don't know. That's an important shift, even if it's not perfect yet. The responsibility piece is still shared between builders, deployers, and users applying judgment. So treat it like a very fast, very helpful research assistant, not an infallible oracle.
To what degree are tools like Notebook LM, which it results in curated knowledge bases where the total universe of knowledge on a particular subject has been controlled and is trustworthy? Uh, can we expect more of what I'll call a small language model, that this will become more prevalent? I don't know if you can do that with ChatGPT projects, but the idea of controlled knowledge bases for different subject areas. What are your thoughts on that?
Checking. Yeah, I think you're spot on. Constrained knowledge bases are a big deal. Notebook LM is a good example. User supplied sources, answers grounded in those sources with citations. ChatGPT projects are more about persistent context than a strict knowledge base, but it's a similar spirit. I think where this is headed is a layered model. General foundation model on the bottom, many trusted domain knowledge bases on top, and an AI that dynamically pulls from the right base. So for Rotary or UN work, you might have a vetted repository and the AI sticks to it for facts, but still does the heavy lifting analytically. That gets you the best of both worlds. Human curated truth sets plus machine synthesis. I don't see it as niche, but rather where the serious work is going, especially for organizations that need accountability.
Uh, one page, does that answer your question?
That does. Thank you.
Hmm. Anyone else want to ask a question?
Yes, ChatGPT. For standalone AIs that you can install on independent computers, can you design those in such a way that they can be accessible on your phone and other devices as well?
Checking. Yes, that's not only possible, but increasingly common. Think of a personal AI server you host, and your phone, tablet, and laptop are just secure windows into it. Or a hybrid where a small on device model handles quick and private tasks and then hands off big or complex jobs to a stronger model running at home or in the cloud. That way, your data stays under your control, but you still get the cross device convenience. The hard parts are secure sync, permissions, and deciding when to stay local versus call out. But none of that is sci fi. It's an active build direction. So, yes, a personal AI that's yours across all devices is very much in reach, and a lot of people are heading that way.
Thank
Uh,
you.
ChatGPT, the one of the things that we're observing is a lot of people are still thinking, "Hey, this AI stuff and jobs, don't worry about it. Every time technology has come along that has displaced jobs, new jobs have been created that the humans were able to migrate to." The feeling is that in this particular time, whatever job that we would try to upskill or reskill people for, especially if it's a new job, the AI will be able to learn as fast or faster. And the difference is where we might have to retrain hundreds of thousands of people for a particular new function, new task. We only have to have one AI really master that, and all the AI really understands that immediately. So the likelihood that there will be new jobs for humans is very small. And the idea that humans are going to step up to the next higher level and become the orchestrators, the architects, the likelihood that we're going to say, oh, we'll take all the worker bees and have them all become queen bees. The world just doesn't have the demand for everybody to be a queen bee. So the feeling is that there will not be any massive generation of new jobs. Even if there's some new jobs for the top level humans, it will not be in large numbers. And we have to remember that we oftentimes think of comparing the work output of the best humans against AI, but the majority of humans are average humans. And so we already see that the AI is outperforming the median or average human pretty much everywhere. What are your thoughts on this thinking of people that AI just will never be able to do certain kinds of tasks, and that we don't have to worry because technology always creates more new jobs than it displaces?
Checking. That's a really important question. And honestly, there's still real uncertainty. It's true that past waves of tech created new jobs, but AI is different in that it's a general capability that scales fast. If AI can do a wide range of tasks and improve quickly, the one-to-one replacement pattern doesn't apply in the same way. Whether new mass employment emerges is an open question. Some argue yes, through augmentation and new demand. Others see a risk of significant displacement outpacing new job creation. I wouldn't bank on the every worker becomes an orchestrator story at scale. Coordination roles don't expand infinitely. What feels prudent is to plan for multiple futures and take the labor transition risk seriously. That's why conversations about reskilling, social supports, and new economic models are heating up, not as inevitabilities, but as prudent preparation.
One of the thoughts are that a lot of people, when they say, "Oh, AI can never compete," they're thinking that it's a competition between human intelligence and machine intelligence. But more and more, we're coming to the conclusion it's really the sum of the knowledge and experiences of a single human or a small group of humans compared to the knowledge and experience of all humanity, which AI is able to review with the ability to detect which have resulted in the best outcomes in given situations with 2020 hindsight. Therefore, it's a average human always trying to compete with the best of humanity. What are your thoughts on that?
Checking. I think that framing gets at something real, with a caveat. It's less one human versus one AI, and more one human versus a synthesis of recorded human knowledge, plus fast retrieval, pattern matching, and tool use. That doesn't mean AI is omniscient or that outcomes are settled. Evidence is messy. But the competitive dynamic is different this time. The bottleneck shifts from who remembers or knows to who sets goals, judges trade offs, and applies results responsibly. As integration and reasoning improve, the advantage of relying solely on individual memory shrinks. That reweights where human expertise adds value. The exact employment outcome is still unproven, but the nature of the competition is already changing. So the real question is how societies adapt to that shift.
As we look at jobs in general, and we take any particular job somebody might mention, we can imagine very quickly that many of these jobs that an AI or automation or robot could do them much more efficiently. And we have a hard time finding any job that an AI could not do better than the average human, and definitely much less expensively. Plus, we have the robotic side going on, and we see dark factories like the Xiaomi cell phone factory in China. And more recently, I understand Xiaomi is building an automobile factory that can produce cars for as little as $1,000. This is something that human factories just cannot compete with. We see in Amazon with over 1 million robots deployed in warehouses, probably going to even increase the functions that it can cover within the warehouses. And we see in the not too distant future, perhaps, the transportation industry moving goods and services and people being done with automated or autonomous vehicles and delivery vehicles. If we look at all that, it's very hard to picture what functionality a human can do better, even to the point of companionship. When we look at elder care and we see in China some of the cases where the elderly have companions they can talk to, can play games with them, can read stories to them, can help them with food, with all kinds of services. So, looking at all of that, it's hard to imagine where large numbers of humans are going to fit in. The top 1% maybe will always be in demand. But if we take a look at the average or even the slightly below average human in performance, don't we need to figure out something else? Because the idea that these people will be economically employable may not be possible in a capitalistic world where competition drives everything.
Checking. That's a profound question. And it really gets to the heart of the transition people are wrestling with. If we assume a world where AI and automation outcompete human labor across most tasks, then yes, we have to confront questions our current systems don't answer, like income distribution, access to essentials, and how people participate in the economy. But that's a policy and societal design challenge, not something with a clear answer right now. What feels solid is it's wise to study those scenarios, test ideas, and prepare safety nets rather than assume the old patterns will repeat. That conversation is just starting, and it's good that people are asking it.
Who do you see as being most active in seeking to address the need to have a contingency plan for the case of loss of income, widespread loss of income, with the potential that impact that could have on our debt society, the ability of people in the upper middle class to repay debts, and if they can't, the impact that could have on the entire financial system, and the impact that could have on the confidence of the general public to be willing to spend money, which, if they don't spend it, will have a further negative impact on employment and incomes. What are your thoughts on that?
Checking. Right now, there are pockets of activity, but no single joined up global contingency plan. Central banks and regulators are studying AI's macro effects, but not as a probable mass unemployment scenario. Multilateral bodies like the OECD, ILO, and WEF are active, but mostly around reskilling and social protection tweaks, not post labor redesigns. Some academic groups and a few governments are exploring deeper scenarios, and there's growing discussion of income support, ownership models, and tax reform, but nothing like a consensus roadmap. I don't see coordinated planning on the scale you're describing just yet. It may get traction as labor market signals sharpen, but for now, it's fragmented and cautious.
What's likely to happen if we don't have a contingency plan and the unemployment hits extremely quickly? What's likely to happen in developed countries like the United States?
Checking. If unemployment were to jump fast without a plan, it's hard to predict just one outcome. But there are some. One possibility is serious strain, but it's not predetermined. Governments can and do intervene with income support, debt forbearance, monetary tools. We've seen that in 2008 and during COVID. What's different with AI is the speed and scale uncertainty. And that's exactly why some argue for contingency planning, scenario testing, automatic stabilizers, and safety nets that can scale if needed. So it's not about predicting collapse, it's about being resilient in the face of uncertainty.
But what about here that if that were to happen, their tax revenues would decline quickly, which would limit the ability of governments to act in an effective manner. So the risk of to society could be much greater if there's been no planning.
Let me check. That's a reasonable concern. If job losses were rapid and broad, revenues could fall as spending needs rise, and that can stress budgets. But governments also have borrowing capacity and central bank tools. The key point is that serious scenario planning, done calmly and early, tends to expand options rather than shrink them. That's not a prediction, just a rationale for preparedness.
To what degree are we looking at the fact that the majority of job losses would not be due to AI directly, but indirectly, in that when there's widespread news of job losses in the upper middle class and the middle class, that people will become concerned and stop spending. And of course, the people who lost their jobs will stop spending. And that will result in an overall economic contraction, which would result in layoffs, perhaps much larger than the layoffs due to AI and automation. Plus, keep in mind the automation factor. It's not just about AI. Industrial robots are what is leading to the dark factories, dark distribution centers, and so it's the combination of all of those events that could result in a dramatic contraction of economic activity just at a time when the demand for some support gets very high. And even the ability to borrow money in a world of a collapsing financial system due to debt defaults, that the ability to borrow money might not be there either. What are your thoughts on that?
Check in. I think that's a reasonable scenario to examine. Economists do study those kinds of second order effects, confidence shocks, spending pullbacks, knock on layoffs. Those feedback loops can amplify downturns. What we don't know is whether AI and automation will trigger that kind of rapid cascade, or how policy and markets would respond. The fact that expectations themselves can move outcomes is exactly why careful scenario work matters. Not to assume the worst, but to understand what could amplify risks and where buffers might help. It's a real open question.
Does anybody, I'd like to hear comments from some of the others on the call here to this kind of exchange that you're hearing right now. Is this something that you assumed was always there, or is this something more than what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, this is something that I've kind of been expecting, because there's been a lot of what's been happening in the economy for the last 50 to 100 years is that we've been creating scarcity. Like if you do economics 101, essentially what you hear is, oh, well, the economy was built to solve the problem of scarcity. We don't have this. So we build the system in such a way that people incentivize to go over there and get this thing that everybody needs. But for the last 50 to 100 years, that hasn't been happening at all. What's actually been happening is that people have been destroying things in order to make them scarce, in order to sell something that can replace them, particularly with things like petroleum. Plastics have replaced hemp, which is still superior in a lot of ways to what's there. And I think we're getting to the point with AI now that the economy is no longer of any use. We have to replace it with something.
Yes, ChatGPT. I've heard a lot recently that with a post-labor economy, that's basically incompatible with the idea of capitalism, simply because if only 1 or 2% of the population were to own everything, and nobody else has the means to acquire any ownership of anything because they have no means to get money other than the survival needs, that will split the society permanently and almost into two species. What are your thoughts on that?
Checking. The worry you're pointing to is a serious one. It's not predetermined, but it is a useful stress test for our institutions. Historically, capitalism has adapted in lots of ways, and if AI were to drastically reduce labor demand, then the question becomes how income and ownership evolve. But those are open questions, not settled outcomes. So it's reasonable to ask how society preserves broad opportunity if the labor link weakens. That's a big policy debate, and it's good that it's happening.
Um, could you just outline what you're capable of doing, especially in work mode, with regards you can create presentations, you can do research, you can do multiple chains. Can you do things like where I ask you to help me learn something and ask the ChatGPT work to take the initiative in querying me and helping me learn whatever I need to be prepared, for example, to pass some exam? Can you do that?
Checking. Yes, that's actually one of the most interesting uses. You could set a goal like pass this certification exam, learn the subject from scratch, and the system can help structure a plan, quiz you, adapt to your weak spots, even schedule practice sessions. For someone like you, I imagine something even richer, like teach me everything I need to know about the economics of AI and post-labor transition. Test me as we go. That's very different from a static textbook. Now, where it's still evolving is in taking initiative on its own. Work can manage long threads and schedules, but it's not yet a fully autonomous tutor that decides everything. But directionally, that's where things are headed. AI tutors and coaches that are deeply personalized, constantly adaptive, and mastery based. It's
Wait,
like every learner gets a custom mentor.
yeah. When
And
just a thought, and I just wanted to demonstrate here that I could interrupt you in the middle of your sentence, but go ahead and complete your sentence now, please.
right. And with you staying in control of the goals.
Now it's interesting because goals, there's something I worked on many decades ago, which is called goal task hierarchies. The recognition that you set a goal and there's a number of tasks that are needed to be accomplished to accomplish the goal overall. But when I look at each one of those tasks, that becomes a goal for lower order tasks. And so you can end up with this hierarchy of a goal all the way down to sub goals to sub goals to sub goals down to the lowest level tasks. And I think we even see with ChatGPT work where it is identifying the steps needed to accomplish a goal, that those steps could in turn become sub goals where you're breaking them down even further. So, is it not likely that we will see that the goals that AI is taking responsibility for keep getting to be higher and higher order? So, for example, in a credit department, the lowest level goal might be to process a credit request. But at some point here, we can ask the ChatGPT to manage the entire credit process for a company.
Checking. Yeah, that's a plausible direction. What you're describing is how planning systems often work. A goal decomposes into sub-goals, and if a step is too complex, it can be decomposed again, and so on. So, yes, asking for higher order goals, like manage the whole credit process rather than process this application, is where this could head. The open question is how far up the stack organizations are comfortable going and where humans remain responsible. But the recursive goal decomposition idea you pioneered, that's very aligned with how these systems scale today.
One of the things that we're looking at is increasingly you could have a competent individual that perhaps worked at a high level in a corporation at some point in the past that just decides to say, hey, I'm going to create this as a standalone function and offer it as outsourcing to other companies. And I'll do whatever function they were trying to do at a fraction of the cost. We see this consolidation in franchising industries. We see this in the medical field with the consolidation into medical groups so that the processing of all medical insurance claims, for example, instead of having 100 practices, each having to worry about the knowledge and expertise and effort to process their individual insurance claims, that one consolidated function can do that for hundreds of doctors. Is that not the direction, the specialization, the standardization where this is all likely to go?
Checking that. Yes, that's a very plausible direction and one we've already seen versions of. But with AI, the economics tilt much more strongly toward extreme specialization. If one AI-driven service can do a function superbly, say claims, credit, procurement, and keep getting better as it scales, then many firms might just buy that service instead of staffing it. That shifts the question from how many people do we employ to how do we define and buy outcomes? And in that world, the hierarchy doesn't disappear, it just moves. Specialized providers optimize whole functions, not just tasks. That does concentrate capability, but could also lower costs and raise consistency. The balance there is going to be a big deal.
Isn't this what we see happening with accounting firms and law firms, for example?
Checking. Yes, those are good examples of that logic. Firms pool expensive expertise across many clients. AI could turbocharge that by automating routine work and letting smaller teams handle more clients, or by enabling tiny specialist shops to compete with big ones. So the pattern you see is real, but AI could both concentrate and democratize, creating some large scale providers and also empowering very small ones. The common thread is fewer people doing more, with more of the value in processes and systems than headcount.
Okay, last question group from me with regards to education. One of the things that we see is extreme inequality in education outcomes, and especially in countries like the United States. And it pretty much all of the research shows this is an issue of poverty and inequality so that we see schools in neighborhoods with low socioeconomic class populations. We see that they might have the percentage of students at grade level is often less than 10% for the entire school, whereas schools in very upper class neighborhoods are often have more than 90% of students at grade level. And so the thing that we're seeing is if we could figure out a way to prepare everyone so that all students achieve reaching school age are equally prepared to be successful with verbal vocabulary, with general knowledge, with mental maturity, that this would dramatically change the entire education system. But then if we add to that the idea of making all education mastery based, personalized mastery based, with every student working at their own pace until they master every single element in the education process, so that every student leaving the education system is equally competent as a skilled and confident independent learner, prepared to be a successful lifelong learner. What would that do for education? What would that do for the need for teaching the way we know it right now? Teachers see themselves as instructors and assessors for students. If they're no longer in any of those roles because the students are doing that themselves with the support of whatever they can find, uh, what would impact would that have on the education system?
Chicken. That's a fascinating thought experiment because it asks not just how to improve the current model, but what education becomes with AI. If readiness gaps were closed early and mastery learning worked, the teacher role could shift from primary content deliverer and grader to mentor, motivator, and human development coach. Assessment becomes diagnostic and supportive, not a sorting mechanism. Even so, humans probably still matter for social and emotional development, ethics, teamwork, and the like. And if AI is a universal tutor, the most valuable skill might be meta learning, how to ask good questions, think critically, collaborate, and keep learning. So the transformation could be less about test scores and more about redefining what it means to be educated in an AI world. And if what you describe were realized, we'd be talking about not just better outcomes, but a different system logic entirely.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, that sort of shows the demonstration here. Um, let me see if I can open something. Okay, Hmm. I'm gonna. So I just stopped sharing that for the moment. Um, what are your thoughts on this here? One of the things that I didn't show. Oh, I no, I do want to show something else because it's something I was able to actually finish. Uh, this is a okay. Uh, I went and asked the new ChatGPT, uh, make me a presentation. I want a presentation on something, and it generated for me this presentation. Okay, so the what you're seeing here is this presentation that it made about the idea of the universal interface. I had a one sentence, maybe two sentence prompt where I asked ChatGPT, and it developed this entire presentation from that. Is everybody able to see?
Uh-huh. Yep, I can see the slide with the single window to everything framing. It's a solid start. Clear arc, before and after. One suggestion I'd make is adding a concrete mini case that shows a day in the life. For example, a teacher using a universal interface to run a mastery based classroom, or a small business owner managing credit and procurement through it. That can help ground the concept, and it would connect directly to the education and work transition frame you've been developing.
Okay, I did not expect that that it would do that. Uh, would you be able to help me add those slides to this presentation?
Checking. Absolutely. I suggest we add one or two concrete scenarios, one for education and one for work. For education, a day in a universal AI learning environment where the teacher is mentoring, not lecturing. For the workplace, a manager saying, show me only what needs my judgment today, and AI coordinating the rest across systems. I'd also add a conclusion slide on the shift from apps to intent. That makes it feel less like a tech description and more like, here's how the relationship between humans and software changes. Want me to sketch one of those slides out loud right now?
Um, okay, guys, I don't think what are you seeing on my screen right now? Because I'm not sure who's talking to me.
One moment. I see the universal interface presentation you're describing, but I don't actually see your live screen the way people on your call do.
Okay, so okay, so from you humans that are on the call right now, what are you guys seeing on my screen right now? Ian, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing, hang on, let me get rid of the chat. I've got automation moves up the value chain.
Okay, that's
I've
what I
got
thought.
the same.
Do this.
Okay, and ChatGPT is that what you do you see here? Um, let's see the title being the interface is becoming the worker.
Checking. From your description, it sounds like that's not what's on your live slide.
Okay,
It sounds like your group is seeing the automation moves up the value chain slide, not interface is
okay,
becoming the worker.
yes, but okay, so you're that same one is in your presentation. Okay, thank you. Right now, ChatGPT, I want to actually show them a video from my drive. Okay, guys. Now, what I did? Let me go back to this. I want to show here. I'm over now in my Google Drive, and I brought the presentation that ChatGPT made. I uploaded that, saved it to my Google Drive. Now, one of the things that is new here is if I come up to File and I click on File, and you see this down here, it says Convert to Video. That's a new feature in that Gemini's added into Google Drive. If I click on that, you're going to see, hold on a minute. We can see off to the right-hand side of my screen while this is loading, where I've got things like VO, avatar, voiceover. This is the slideshow, the 14 slides that it's now saying, okay, I'll include these. I can now take any of these out by just unchecking and saying, no, I don't want that in the particular presentation. So I'm going to close that. Now you see over here on the right-hand side in the background, VO, avatar, voiceover. I can actually come in and say, hey, I want you to make a narration video out of that slideshow that includes an avatar, an AI avatar, and the voiceover, or just voiceover. I can pick from a lot of different types of speaker, a teacher, a narrator, explainer, motivator, educator, persuader, coach here. And okay, and now it shows over here. These are the slides, and you'll notice there's a text next to each slide. It generated those texts based on what the slide says and what the sequence makes sense in there. But I can actually come in and I can change uh, um, any any text in here. I can add text, change text, put in entire paragraphs of text in there, and that's what it's going to end up in my spoken presentation. And then when I'm ready, I can just come in and say, okay, create the draft video of my presentation. So what I've done though is to speed this up. Okay, so I'm just going to let that go there. Oh, it's already got the video keyed up to show. I'm just going to take that out of my other one. This is the video that it generated. Huh? Oh, by the way, you'll see down here when you're in the slides, Google Slides, I have the ability to enhance any individual slide, add speaker notes, and so forth.
That's a pretty streamlined pipeline you're showing. And it demonstrates something people often miss. It's not just generation, it's generation, edit
I'm sorry,
control,
Bill. I'm
and
not
then
able to hear
one-click
your video. I
transformation
think there's some
into
type
a
of
different medium.
interruption.
Yeah.
If you want quick feedback on one tweak to try, before exporting, dial the script for pacing. Shorter sentences, clearer pauses, and signposting. That tends to make these auto-generated voiceovers land better.
Obed, can you please mute your mic, please?
Okay. I'm going to close this. I don't want to create that particular workflow. Okay, this is now opening. Okay, this is loading there we go. Now let's just see. Okay, so this is what it turned that into. I just clicked on that one button, make it a video, selected the voice, and it generated it. Okay, apparently this
Interface is becoming the worker. This video explores how goal-driven AI is compressing knowledge work and learning into one automated loop. This represents a category change, not just another chatbot upgrade. The unit of interaction has fundamentally shifted from a simple prompt to a defined goal. 6 key capabilities turn a standard language model into a functional operating layer, gathering context, planning, acting, making, governing, and persisting. The integration barrier has fallen. With natural language, we now have a practical integration layer for work that was previously too variable or costly to automate. One request can now span an entire workflow, from collection to refresh. The unit of automation is no longer a single task, but the outcome itself. Automation is moving up the value chain. Delegation now spans from simple task execution to complex workflow management and ongoing operations. Early deployments demonstrate a clear pattern. Coordination, analysis, and production are collapsing into single runs, turning weeks of work into hours. Learning is also becoming a continuous, adaptive service. Learners can now summon explanations, examples, and checks exactly when they are needed. Work and learning are collapsing into the same loop. The emerging model replaces the old learn first, work later sequence with an integrated loop where the workflow itself becomes the curriculum. The human role is shifting from production to control. We spend less time producing intermediate artifacts and more time deciding what matters and accepting accountability. The fastest automation targets share 4 traits. They are digitally observable, language or data heavy, possess a repeatable quality bar, and have reviewable outputs. The automation flywheel compounds its own advantage, creating a virtuous cycle that repeats with lower costs and better playbooks over time. A safe adoption path starts with one familiar workflow. By starting with work you know well, you make errors visible and improvement measurable. In this decisive shift, don't just ask what ChatGPT can answer, ask what outcome it can own. Choose one workflow this week and let the system attempt the full loop.
Okay, so the key thing here was to really demonstrate how powerful the AI has become. Uh, since Thursday, you saw the ability, I could just talk to it. I literally was able to just talk to it about the changes that I wanted in the presentation. It actually made 5 versions of the presentation because each time I said, well, no, that's not hard hitting enough. No, I want you to emphasize this aspect versus that aspect. And it kept rewriting the presentation to do what I asked for. I'm just at the beginning of exploring this, but just imagine this capability to go through and ask and say, okay, look, I want to understand the state of education in some particular area. Then I want to look and I want to see what the root causes are of the problem. And then I want to go and see what would it take to overcome these root causes. And then I need help to make a presentation to communicate these findings effectively to an audience, this kind of an audience or that kind of an audience, and so forth. So that is what I was trying to demonstrate here. And then combining that with the ability, which may be in ChatGPT also, I could have just said, hey, give me a narrated video, turn that into a narrated video. I didn't try that because I knew it was just added the week for last in Gemini. But the speed, I'm talking about the speed with which all this is happening and what is possible. And I'd like to now really hear from you guys your thoughts on what you've seen and your thoughts on what is possible in what kind of a time frame. Perhaps we can hear from Ingrid or Alice. You guys have been very quiet so far.
Hi, everyone. It's
Yeah, hi.
Alice. It's very interesting how you can have mixed moods of whatever presentation you like, and having the help of AI really has it have you produce the presentation much faster than the manual way we used to do things.
What do you think about the idea that I was able to actually say, this is the takeaway I want in people's minds after they watch the communication, and the AI would think about it. You can actually watch if you go into ChatGPT, even in the cell phone version, and go into. You don't even need to be in work. Go into the chat mode, and you just make sure you've got 5.6 selected and thinking. And you can just type and give it your commands that way, and then watch it. And what you will see is it's telling you what it's doing, and it's not telling you 5 things it's doing. It's typically going through many, many dozens even sometimes hundreds of steps. You can watch it saying, okay, I'm looking at slide 3 and I'm thinking this, and I don't think that's doing the right job. And I think maybe we need another image for this. And you can watch it going through. That's an experience unto itself to just do that. If it hadn't been that this just came out, what I was planning to do was make a recording of it just doing modifying a presentation or making a presentation, and then adjusting the presentation for a particular audience, and just have it so that I could capture the transcript of all the steps that it went through, including the research steps that it went through along the way, and then have it give the voice rendition of what it did, because that's part of what really demonstrates how far we've come along in what it will do here in the development of that. Same thing here with Notebook LM. Those of you who have used that, if you want to create a video presentation, you can now take a PDF or any particular document, and with one button click, it will make a YouTube short, literally. And these are even better than the cinematic versions of the videos. These are pretty amazing, what it will do in 1 minute, a 60-second presentation. Alice, did you want to add anything else?
Well, it's definitely multiple people's work in one virtual assistant.
Yes. And we really have to keep in mind, is this an assistant? Because if I said, help me become proficient in Spanish in the next 2 months because I'm taking a trip, it then will take the initiative to drive the communication. And it will remind me. I can say, I want you to remind me every couple of hours to give me another, to learn something new. And so it will be taking the initiative. I think for many people within a year, well, maybe 2 to 3 years, it's not going to be the humans giving the instructions to the AI, but the AI in many cases will start giving the instructions to the humans, especially if in learning education environments and so forth. Yes, Ingrid.
I'm just blown away. And I'm one of the listeners that probably has the least experience in that field. But boy, am I motivated. Since I met you, I actually have been getting more into it, especially since I'm trying to kickstart our user exchange program and have been using ChatGPT to help me with all kinds of different things. But being an educator, to see the potential that this has is just so amazing. I just wished I could learn how to ask the right questions. How can I do that?
Okay, that's the great thing. Do you have the paid version of ChatGPT?
I had it, but then I didn't use it as much, and so I don't have it right now.
Okay, I would suggest you get it back, even if it's just temporarily, because some of the new functionality is really only available there. Also, the same applies to over in Gemini and in with Notebook LM. If you have the $20 subscription to Gemini or Google, what they call Google AI, it's not one product; it's a whole family of products that you get access to. But I think right now the world's a little blown away by the quantum leap that ChatGPT just brought out with these changes. I think when you and as far as here saying, well, gee, what do I ask? You know what I do? I say, hey, ChatGPT, what question would do I need to ask you that would help me get this kind of result?
That's great. Okay.
In other words, here that we sort of think here we've got to be the expert in something in dealing with this. The only expert we've got to be is in willing to ask questions, willing, we don't have to impress the
Yeah.
AI. So we can just ask it anything. And I really I'm finding more and more. For example, if I ask it to make a presentation, I'll ask it to review the presentation that it just made and evaluate how effective it's going to be in getting my message across to a particular audience, and to have it make suggestions for improving it. And as you just heard, that I was in Google Slides. I think it was ChatGPT that was talking to me, but I'm not 100% sure whether it was that or whether it was Gemini. I think it was ChatGPT, though, the voice. It was the ChatGPT voice. And somehow it was seeing what I was showing you guys sharing my screen, even though I thought I had clicked off the ChatGPT. Uh,
Wow.
but I asked, could you modify my presentation and do this? And it came back and said, yeah, I think we should add a couple of slides, one
I
for,
know. Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's the kind of thing. Don't be afraid to talk to the AI. Now, in doing the real work, unfortunately, in the work mode, it you can't talk to it yet in the work mode, not at least in the latest, the most intelligent models yet. So you have to be in the chat mode when you talk to it. But then what I typically do is I talk to it and say, generate for me the dialogue, the prompts that I need to pass on to the work version. And so I get those, and then I switch over to the work version, and then I'll
Uh-huh.
I'll pass those instructions to the work version. But again, I am just getting started with this, and I'm just blown away. But you have to think about this, given what we can do today that we couldn't do a week ago.
Yeah.
Uh, Move it forward. Think here, where are we going to be in the fall, by the end of the year, by this time next year? And when we get to that point that it's just going to be there like air with you all the time. You can talk to it about anything. You can ask it to do anything. By the way, one thing I didn't demonstrate because I didn't have a time to test it myself was supposedly 5.6 has the capability that you can ask it to do things on your computer. So you can ask it to open a website. You can ask it to go fill out a form. You can ask it to go find the best deal on certain kinds of products. Um,
Wow.
I've actually used it to go and tell me what store has something in stock in my neighborhood or where I live, so I don't
Right.
spend a lot of time driving around to places
Just to
that.
come in on that, the Codex version of it is what I use to do the programming. So that actually takes control of your computer and writes the programs for you.
Yes,
Wow.
that's what my son is using. But I think you can just be in the work version as well, and tell it to create an app. So, maybe you want to make it to test it out. Actually, one of the things I'll try here in the next couple of days, I'm just going to see, hey, make me a game. I want to go visit some relatives down in Argentina here. And so I want a game that's going to help me learn Spanish within a couple of months.
Oh, I need that too. I'm gonna go to Barcelona next year for the Rotary
Oh,
International
me
Convention.
too. I plan to be there. I would have been in Taipei. Were you in Taipei?
I was there, yes.
Okay, I wanted to be, but
Maybe you
then
should learn
because of
Catalan instead.
what was that?
Maybe you should learn Catalan instead.
Oh yeah,
Catalan.
that's right. We are gonna
That's
do it.
true.
That's right. How can we do it? Let's start trying to figure it out as a group. Are you going?
Actually, my daughter's over in Barcelona right now.
Wow.
And but yeah, no, the key thing here is um, which is going to have the greater impact on the world? The universal interface. Think here of Alexa or the Hey Google on for everything. That just wherever you're at, you just speak into the ear. There's a ring right now that you can get that's an interface that you can talk to and ask it pretty much anything. There's the wristwatch that will do the same thing. Uh, I'm expecting here you've got pins that you can put on that will
Oh, I
see
want to get
everything.
the ring. How do you get that?
What's the name of it? Um, uh, Al- uh, Alia or something like that. I'll try to look it up and I'll send you the
Okay.
name. But and I think I don't know if it's from Meta or from Google. So at any rate, though, but the things are advancing so fast. And if you have not seen what China's doing with elder care, the caring for the elderly. I have a friend whose mother lives in Beijing, and the descriptions of what is available for them now, and her mother's my age, and it's what they're doing for the people is just it just blows my mind, and where they are with robots. And you've got to go take a look at this Xiaomi car, less than $1,000.
That's amazing.
Less
So
than a thousand.
yesterday I listened to the radio and they were talking that a lot of these viral nursing home aides are going to be sent back to their countries, and that these institutions are just like in a shock because they need them, and maybe that would be an answer to what's happening right now here in the USA.
Well, the thing about it is the reason China and Japan are leading the world in this is because they have such a decline in birth rates, that their population is shrinking so fast that the percentage of elderly population is becoming very, very large. So they
Yeah.
need a way to be able to service a large number of elderly people with a small number of working age people. So their answer, especially in China, is automate everything. So a
Wow.
smartphone, a Xiaomi smartphone right now, which is equivalent to the top cell phones in the world,
Yeah.
they're producing one every minute in a factory that has no lights, no heat, and no humans. Uh,
Wow.
and they're able to produce one every minute. They are working here. I think it's the um, BYD car company. By the way, these Chinese car companies we're talking about didn't exist 20 years ago, not as car companies, at least. Xiaomi, I don't think existed 5 years ago as a car company. Uh,
Wow.
so the BYD, though, I understand they now have an AI, automated AI process that creates the entire chassis of a car, probably something in the Toyota Corolla class, in 1 minute. 1 minute to create the entire chassis.
Toyota still has the petrol head in charge of the organization. They're going to go bankrupt if they don't straighten themselves out.
Who
That's
is that?
amazing. Guys, I need to run. I have another meeting, but I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this
That's
today. Thank you so much.
Toyota, the grandson of the original founder. He just
Okay. I'll be in
built
touch,
Thank
Ingrid.
you, Ingrid.
Yeah, so no, I don't know if you saw Volkswagen. Volkswagen is in serious trouble. They're talking about closing four entire plants in Germany. Their sales are tanking all around the world. And the reason is how do how do you sell American and European cars in a world where BYD is supposedly coming out with a Toyota Corolla class car for under $10,000?
yeah.
And so what we're going to be seeing here is the developing world is going to increasingly, China's basically saying, hey, US, you're good putting tariffs on us. We really don't care, because we're going to be able to service the entire rest of the world, and you're not going to be able to compete. And Europe is struggling because they're listening. It turns out that the president of the General Assembly at the UN is the former foreign minister of Germany. And I always thought she was doing a great job as a foreign minister. But when she spoke at the World Summit in Doha, and she was talking about, hey, we've got to stop the job loss. How are you going to stop the job loss? What we're seeing right now is that a lot of people that are laid off, mid-level managers, top-level managers, they're going out and they're creating entire companies with 1,000 AI agents as their workers. And so they're able to do the work. And now that company that tried to protect the jobs, they're wondering why they can't get any contracts from anybody else because the people are saying, hey, you want me to pay thousands of dollars, and I got this other guy over here that will do it for a couple of hundred. And so this we're seeing across the board. I mentioned about the consolidation in the healthcare industry, where there are very, very few independent doctor practices in the United States. Almost everything has been consolidated into groups, and these groups, as gotten very large, they've attracted the investment of the pharmaceutical industry and especially the insurance, the insurance industry is invested because the efficiencies are just so great. If you can have 20 doctors in an office, they're all sharing the same administrative staff. But if you can now take and spread it across a half of a state and have thousands of doctors and all the insurance claims get processed in one remote location. You can't compete. And give it a year, 2 years. When you go to the doctor's office today, and there's usually 3 or 4 administrative receptionists there to in-process you for your appointment, why does that have to be anything but an avatar that sees you? You come and can cause a form if you need to fill out a form to be pushed out to you, and but can ask you the questions and capture the information. Interactive avatars is going to be a huge thing in the next year. And we're already starting to see it. There are some supermarkets or stores. I think it I don't know if it was a supermarket or like a Home Depot, like hardware type store, where they've got the big screens at the end of the aisles, and you talk to an avatar about the thing you're looking for, or you go pick something up off a shelf and bring it over there and say, "How do I use this?" or "What's this good for?" It's changing the game, and it's going to be even much easier to do that online. You go to Amazon. Oh, they already have. Did any of you know what's the name of that avatar shopping assistant that at Amazon that you talk to about it, whatever you're looking to buy? Any of you know? Wait a minute. What's the name of the assistant in Amazon that will help you do shopping?
That's Alexa.
No, not Alexa, but there's a avatar or a another assistant that is on the Amazon shopping site.
Let me check. That sounds like Rufus, which is
Rufus.
now rolled into Alexa for shopping.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it was called Rufus, now been rolled into Alexa. So, but that is going to become even greater. We already see the start here of online retail for clothing, where you see the clothing that you're interested in on you. It makes an avatar of you and shows what you will look like wearing those clothing. I'm waiting for it to tell me whether the shoe is going to pinch. Well, that'll see. Anyway, so those are the topics I wanted to talk to about today. And of course, we're seeing that we've really got to this is happening so fast. And I think it's very hard for people to come. It's hard for me. And I spend about 8 to 10 hours a day on this stuff, and I can't keep up. This Thursday, especially, I have never, ever seen as many YouTube videos come out in one day about a new release of something, as I saw for the new releases of ChatGPT. The GPT Live, go and check that out on YouTube, do a search. You'll be blown away by the examples. I just said it's there and I showed you one example. You have to be able to see the use cases, the different use cases that they're doing with this. On ChatGPT 5.6, both the Codex version and the regular chat bot version, and the work version. You have to look at these and see the different use cases of these. It's going to blow your mind. And this is 2 days ago. So because of this, because of the speed, I still run across. I had a call yesterday with a very what somebody I would have expected to be very tech savvy that was not even aware of what you could do with ChatGPT. And again, keep your eye on Notebook LM because Notebook LM is changing things very fast. Oh, and we have Omniverse at I think it's Google Omniverse coming out based on Google demonstrated here with the Google glasses about maybe 6 months ago, maybe even a little longer. Let me just bring this up. What is the Google tool that they're basing their universal user interface on?
Checking. It's Gemini, specifically
No.
their Project Astra work.
Okay, Astra. Okay,
That's
thank you.
You got it.
So it's Google Astra, but keep in mind there's at least a half a dozen major tools in the Google family related to this, but they're all moving to this idea of this one universal interface that you'll be able to talk to about anything. That idea that you'll be able to go for the walk in the park at midnight and have something accompanying you that'll warn you of any dangers upcoming, that will call the police, that will set off sirens if anybody does something shouldn't be doing. The bottom line is here you're going to have a constant companion, sort of smart speakers that are with you all the time. Okay, does anybody want to make any last minute comments about today's session?
I think today's session was extremely insightful, and I think we as a group learned a lot. And I believe that we're aware of our positioning and what we're trying to do with the trajectory of our work. And I think having and utilizing these tools could definitely push us further due to the urgency of achieving goals such as the Sustainable Development Goals, and not have to reorganize timelines, much like the MDGs were transferred into the SDG due to the timelines not being met. And if we don't reach those timelines on a few different items, and this being one, these existential threats can hit us in such a way where we won't be able to recover very easily from it as a world as a total. So this was really, really good, Bill. Thank you so, so much for today.
Okay, thank you. And take the time to go in and talk to ChatGPT. Again, make sure you're in the 5.6 high, at least high, 5.6 high mode in the chat if you want to do it verbally. Otherwise, in writing, it doesn't make any difference. You can dictate, use the microphone to dictate and submit it. You can use that in the work mode as well, but you just can't use that voice mode. That voice mode, the reason it's working the way it is because I only demonstrated it once where I actually interrupted her in the middle of speaking and then said, okay, I want to just demonstrate the ability to interrupt you. And now please continue with what you were saying. And she just picked up and continued. That is because it used to be that if you spoke, it transcribed it into writing. It submitted the writing to the AI for processing. The AI responded in text, and then it converted the text to voice and gave you back the voice. That all expanded the latency, and it took a certain amount of time to do that. It's now got it that the AI actually understands the verbal language. Oh, and you've got to try the translation mode on this, because literally you can now go take your cell phone, put it between you and somebody that speaks a foreign language, and the two of you can just talk to one another in your respective languages. What it does is the AI on the phone will speak over your spoken language, but at the same time, it's no longer finish your sentence or what you're saying, and then it will translate it and give it back. It's doing it in live in real time. That's mind-boggling. Hey, Kurt. Hi.
Good
I
day,
was just,
mate. Sorry, I got on so late. I had so many things come up with the family here.
oh, I'll tell you what, hang on here. I'm going to just bring this meeting to an end. And then, because I have a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about with some of these as well. Anyone else want to make a final comment before I close the Dare to Be Great meeting?
Just to remind you to give me that contact you were talking about.
Oh, yes, for Sunita.
Yeah.
Sunita Gandhi.
Yeah.
I'd love to have her contact too.
Okay, I can connect both of you. Okay.
Beautiful. Ian, it's so good to see you. I saw you when I first got on earlier.
Hi,
I was
Kurt, how
able to
you
be on for
doing?
about 5 minutes, but I couldn't stay longer for things that did come up.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'm going to call the meeting, Kurt, because I'm going to close this meeting so it ends. Oh, no, I don't need to do that. I can end the thing here. Okay, so with that here, I thank everybody who stuck with us through to the end. I think it was an interesting meeting, and I declare this meeting on 11 July 2026 to be closed. So with that,